Well, of course, during conference about telematics, I will talk mainly about telematics, obviously, but in current environment, it's difficult to avoid, amongst other, the most commonly topics like COVID-19 and wider crisis, which could affect the whole economy, not only our industry, of course. Because of that, the leitmotif of my presentation and title is Opportunity Through Crisis, and subtitle How Telematics Could Help Unlock the Business Potential, with especially focus on the countries from our region. Then within next 19 or 18 minutes, I would like to make you a little bit more familiar with Webfleet and Bridgestone companies, about mobility trends from our perspective, of course. New challenges, CEE markets as we see it, and the last but not least, Webfleet Partners Program, which is, I think, unique. If in a few basic numbers, I will tell what is Webfleet Solution. This is 50,000 customers across the world, 1.2 million vehicles, commercial vehicles, of course, more than 250 local business partners, and 350 software and hardware partners. I'm absolutely aware that our audience consists of professionals in telematics, of course, but for those who associate currently telematics mainly with GPS or track and tracing functionality, I would underline that telematics is about data from our perspective, about collecting data, processing data, providing data to the end user to make easier decision about how to make business more efficient and, of course, costless. Webfleet means a million of data every day about kilometers, about CO2 emission, about billions GPS position too. Then this is Webfleet, and this is telematics currently. I think it's time also to say about strategically partnership between Webfleet and Bridgestone Group. Since spring 2019, we act as Bridgestone Mobility Solution units in Bridgestone Group. And I deeply believe that it means a real difference on the market because the amazing scale of Bridgestone global business combining with Webfleet mobility service creates totally new value on the market for both, for customers, for partners too. How did it happen? A few years ago, Bridgestone recognized that digital era or digital age is coming, and his own activities didn't allow them to follow the market digital trends. They were too slow, briefly speaking, and acquired from TomTom Telematics division. That's it. For both our companies are benefited because combined customer base, because cross-selling, because data-driven traditional tires business, and because developing virtual tires. A little bit about mobility trends coming from a Bridgestone Mobility Solution perspective. What is that about? We talk a lot about connectivity, but there is not a map. From Google, from TomTom, they are little dots about connected cars in real time. They are 1.2 million cars already managed on daily live in real time. Managed minute by Webfleet and Total Tire Care by Mobox from Bridgestone. But what could even underestimated by many of us is behind the technological growth a simple fact that technology is exponential. Human thinks linear. We as a human, we can even not imagine the exponential function, but the background is that technology is exponential. New technology is coming into play, and a lot of us completely underestimate the technology acceleration curve. Other element which comes from data-driven technology is playing for a date. It is that 90% of data which exist or were processed in the whole world were created within only last 2 years. Well, let me move back to the topics which was a little bit investigated by my colleague Colin from Geotab. It means Webfleet has unique ability having data about above more million connected cars and billion GPS position to monitor restarting of the economy, especially standing of transport industry in COVID-19 environment, which could be supportive for companies, for public sectors, for local, national government, and society of countries. Webfleet, as one of the leader of the market, feel the, I would say, responsibility to have input in helping each other in this challenging time and share own data about connected cars, completely non-profit. As Colin said a few minutes ago, we together with Geotab try to prepare a special analysis to measure, among other, the percentage of the vehicles activity during COVID-19 times versus pre-COVID level in both continents, in Europe and in North America, amongst other thanks to partnership with Geotab. The subject of measurement was the number of trips by commercial vehicles. I take as a sample the country from our region, it means Poland, to demonstrate how it works, a little bit more detailed. And taking into consideration Poland, during first weeks after lockdown, it was between 26 March and 19 April, commercial fleet activities in Poland fell around 60 to the level 65% of the pre-COVID level. Nowadays, at the beginning of September, we are close to fully recovery. That means this is currently 95% of pre-COVID activity. Of course, we demonstrate or we make available this analysis much more deeper versus current slide, showing standing of specific industry, country by country, week by week, etc., etc. COVID-19, in fact, nowadays during situation, during crisis, somebody described the situation, provoked that many companies try to find the features or ability which could make the companies more efficient. And we selected a few areas or KPIs or functionalities which could support this process. They are remote working, what is obviously digitalization, of course, management by KPIs, and improving efficiency of processes, including, of course, cost management. Going from global topics a little bit to our region. Central Eastern Europe, as we know, is hero in terms of share of international transport. Only 6 countries of our regions like Poland, Romania, Lithuania, Slovakia, Hungary, and Slovenia creates altogether more than 50% of international road transport in whole Europe. Poland is the leader, European leader, Romania is number 3, Lithuania number 5. In the region where transport plays so key role in the economy, it is obvious that the fleet management and telematics as the solution to improve efficiency of fleet management has significant potential for growth, especially because the penetration of fleet management solution in different regions of Europe is not too high currently, based on some external sources. But in that moment, in this situation, one small comment. It means penetration parameters depend on definition of telematics, of course. If we interpret telematics mainly as GPS or simply track and tracing functionality, then this parameter would be close to even 100 in some cases. But if we interpret much modern in line with current, sometimes sophisticated expectation of customers, it could be as we see on this slide. Let me tell you a few words about Webfleet Poland and Central Eastern Europe. We are a market leader in Poland, cooperate with our partners in Czech, Slovakia, Hungary, of course, with over 120 employees located mainly in Warsaw and a very close cooperation with structure of Bridgestone Eastern Europe organization. What could be interested that Webfleet develop unique channel in direct sales or partners concept to cooperate with us by companies who are interested in developing telematics in partnership with global player like Webfleet. Few words about the partners program. Webfleet partners program is deeply proved concept in almost whole Western Europe within last 20 years, and clearly profitable for our partners. 250 companies partners across the Europe regularly cooperate with Webfleet, developing together with us innovative telematic services, and of course generating the profit, what is the most important. And of course, we will all time invite to cooperate with Webfleet in many dimensions, depending on a very individual profile of the companies and his capacity, resources, etc. It could be a few potential alternatives as external lead providers, as companies who generate sales, and as companies who, third option, as companies who cooperate with us as installation partners. Except of absolutely fundamentally value, like revenue generation, Webfleet, in cooperation with our partners, invest into especially two areas. First is visibility of our partners, including marketing activities, promotion, communication, etc., etc. And second area is developing and build expert position of our partners in industry by training, workshop, innovating hardware for testing, access to the database, searches, and webinars. Then, in fact, the only one way you could do in best to predict the future, considering our inability to understand an exponential function, is to try to build the future. Sounds a little bit as a slogan, but in fact, in practice, in real life, we would like to do it, and we invite our potential partners to our commonly journey. Well, that's I think all from my side based on this presentation, and thank you for your attention. Let's stay in touch.